this. You can't be serious about that, can you?
I'm very serious about it.
Give him credit for that, because there's a lot of...
The bravery.
For running away when he got tired.
No, the bravery...
Sorry.
No, go on.
Sorry. From round one, running away, jumping up and down, falling down on the floor, yeah?
$.
He did not, but go ahead.
For a clown show. For a freaking clown show. Jake Paul embarrassed himself, embarrassed the sport, and embarrassed everyone that calls himself a fighter.
Stephen A. Smith challenged Jake Paul during a live interview following Paul's knockout defeat to Anthony Joshua. Smith questioned the wisdom of taking on a top-tier opponent so early in his boxing career, describing the matchup as a risky move. Jake Paul pushed back with confidence, saying he remains fully prepared with elite training and top-level support. He emphasized that the loss won't derail his plans and that he's committed to moving forward in boxing.
Nah, definitely I need a few more fights. I'm not taking them on in my next bout, but a couple more years of experience with the team I got. I'm surrounded by the best team in the world possible that money can afford, so I'm getting exponentially better.
Following Jake Paul's bout with Anthony Joshua, Logan Paul spoke out about the wave of reactions from fans and critics. He dismissed much of the backlash as inevitable negativity, saying some people were always going to complain regardless of the outcome. Logan explained that stepping into high-level competition naturally brings intense scrutiny, and this fight was no exception. He noted that few truly believed Jake would overcome a highly accomplished opponent, but his brother's confidence and willingness to take the challenge stood out. Even after suffering a broken jaw, Jake kept a positive attitude, joking around and recording content from the hospital, which Logan said showed his toughness and genuine passion for boxing. According to Logan, that ability to face fear and push through hardship is what fuels Jake's progress. While the result wasn't a win, Logan described the experience as a positive moment, proving Jake's resilience and earning respect through courage rather than the final score.
These are haters. Haters gonna hate. It's just the name of the game, you know. When you're operating at the high level that my brother and I are, the haters come with it. I mean, statistically speaking, part-timer, I think the narrative's dead. I've been showing up every single Monday for the past month and a half. I've wrestled in 4 out of the 5 times I was there. I won every single match. So like, everyone who's yapping can now shut their trap because the narrative's dead.
I mean, you brought the receipts. I think that the proof stands for itself. And you mentioned your brother. Jake went 6 rounds on Friday night with Anthony Joshua. I know how proud you are of him. You were in the hospital with him afterwards. You called him an absolute warrior and said on your Instagram that his broken jaw won't break his spirit. How did you think, and what did you think of how the fight went down?
So, from strictly a logical point of view, I actually think it went down exactly as it was supposed to. I'm not sure anyone really thought that Jake was going to beat Anthony Joshua, but you have to understand, being his brother and in his close circle, he has this conviction that makes you believe, and he has this ability to defy reality and morph it into his vision of how it'll transpire that makes you think he'll win. However, like this was my opinion, this was a logical conclusion to the fight. The 2-time Olympian broke the influencer boxer's jaw. Like, okay, you know, we could have wrote it in a story and it would have made sense. That said, I think he did amazing. I'm incredibly proud of him. I think it was a net positive. I think the world can see now how tough Jake Paul is.
Eddie Hearn shared his perspective on Jake Paul's showing against Anthony Joshua, pushing back on claims that Jake was merely avoiding the fight. He explained that when facing a boxer of Joshua's experience and ability, there was never a realistic path to victory. Because of that, Jake's focus shifted to lasting as long as possible in the ring. According to Hearn, the true benchmark wasn't winning, but endurance, and Jake surpassed expectations by completing all 6 rounds. Many believed he wouldn't make it past the early stages, yet he held up against the strength and skill of a world-class heavyweight. While Jake wasn't competitive in the traditional sense, Hearn pointed out that surviving against an elite opponent is an accomplishment in itself. Going 6 rounds under that level of pressure showcased Jake's durability, mental toughness, and ability to stay composed, making his performance noteworthy despite the defeat.
Well, Jake was running and Jake was held, but listen, I mean, at the end of the day, Jake had one job, and that was to try and survive. I mean, he was never ever going to win the fight, ever. And if you would have said to me, do I think he'll go 6 rounds? I would have said absolutely not. I mean, I felt that it would take AJ a couple of rounds to get hold of him, because I knew Jake can move a bit and he'd be moving off the back foot and he'd be holding. But it was the way that he did it, I think, was actually quite impressive. Like, not that particular part, but the way that he would, the way that he was strong in the clinch. He wouldn't let AJ get his shots off in the clinch. He made him miss a few times. And obviously AJ's been out of the ring for a while. But to be honest, I think the most fascinating thing of the whole night in terms of the fight was how he didn't get flatlined by that right hand. I mean, I said going into the fight, it's probably going to take AJ a few rounds to get hold of him. And I also said, as soon as he lands clean, the fight's over, right? He landed a few before, but the first that he landed really clean was the final shot. But, he never flatlined Jake. I mean, he did break his jaw in 2 places, which is a disaster. But there are a lot of heavyweights that would have been out cold from that right hand. I mean, one of them was Francis Ngannou in a pretty similar shot, really. Do you know what I mean? So I actually give Jake unbelievable credit for doing it in the first place, but his performance as well. I mean, I stand by the fact that I think he's just a decent cruiserweight, but he did go in with Anthony Joshua, and look, the world is full of criticism and opinions and negativity. Who else is doing what he's doing at what is he, late 20s? I mean, quite phenomenal. I mean, the guy's a complete madman. I'm watching him come out to that ring walk, and he's just an incredible.
Stephen A. Smith added that Jake Paul can't lean on his YouTube roots as justification when competing against a world-class boxer like Anthony Joshua. He argued that if Jake still views himself mainly as a content creator, then facing elite professionals in the ring isn't the right move. Smith emphasized that fights at that level demand total dedication and a serious professional mindset, not reliance on popularity or crossover appeal.
Professional boxing trainers for years. He takes the sport very seriously.
Thank you. So let me ask you, that's the question I have, because great kid, great businessman, by the way, amazing. And I know how he does all this, the character and the persona. We keep saying that he doesn't want to be a boxer. He's not a boxer, but then
Jake Paul is a boxer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my point.
Exactly. He's a boxer.
He can fight. I respect it. So go in there against fighters. You should be climbing the ladder towards those other fighters and taking the sport seriously to the point where you're fighting actual.
Derek Chisora was reluctant to give Jake Paul much praise following his bout with Anthony Joshua, challenging the idea that simply entering the ring should be seen as courageous. He pushed back against opinions from figures like Chris Eubank Jr., who argued that Jake deserved credit for lasting 6 rounds. Chisora claimed that throughout the fight, Jake focused on avoiding engagement, spending much of the time moving away, going down, and throwing very few meaningful punches. In his view, courage isn't defined by showing up or enduring punishment for a paycheck. He argued that real bravery involves taking risks for something greater than personal gain, such as representing or defending one's country. While acknowledging that Jake followed through on the fight, Chisora maintained that surviving 6 rounds against a seasoned professional doesn't automatically earn respect for either skill or heart. He also criticized Jake for turning the defeat into online content instead of demonstrating what he considers true fighting courage.
You're fighting someone who you're supposed to it's not supposed to look competitive, he's not supposed to hit you, he's not supposed to go more than 3 rounds, but at the same time, you need to know how to control the pressure. I think AJ's demeanor in the build-up was someone who was like, you know what, everyone's saying these things, but this is how I see it. Yeah, I rate him, he can box a bit. He did say in an interview with Steve Bunce that like, when he was talking certain things, there's a part of me that wants to punch him in his face, but I'm just gonna chill. And I feel like that's how he handled the immense pressure.
The last time we saw AJ fuming like this, like when he actually tried to do something, was with Dylan. So we should not judge him when he says something like this, because when he don't say nothing, we say, oh, why is he not saying anything back? Yeah. And when he says something, we're like, oh.
A boxing analyst claimed that respect shouldn't be attached to Jake Paul in this case, arguing that the matchup was driven by financial incentives rather than true competition. He said the fight revealed several weaknesses, particularly Jake's frequent clinching and holding, which came across as nervousness instead of control. The analyst noted that this response was understandable given the opponent. Anthony Joshua is not a faded fighter but an active and dangerous heavyweight. He pointed out that Joshua has consistently followed through when he says he intends to hurt someone in the ring. As the rounds went on and Joshua's shots landed closer, Jake appeared increasingly defensive and focused on staying upright. In the analyst's view, that behavior reflected survival instincts rather than courage. He concluded by saying that with a reported payday nearing $92 million, many people would be willing to take the risk. But earning that kind of money doesn't automatically translate to respect within the boxing world.
I thought about that before getting in the ring with him. And I think a lot of things were revealed inside the ring. You know, all the grabbing of the leg and stuff like that. That shouldn't have been. You know, that almost looked like, it reminded me of Troy. You guys remember Troy when Orlando Bloom's character grabbed his brother's leg, you know? You know what I mean? It looked like he was desperately scared, you know, but I think he should have been desperately scared because AJ was coming to hurt him. This wasn't a Mike Tyson fight. He wasn't 58 years old. This dude is 36. And Anthony Joshua, like he said, because I've heard AJ say stuff like that. Hey, I'm going to F you up. He said the same thing to Helenius, because he thought Helenius was looking at him crazy. And it's like, what do you know, why are you looking at me like that? Right? And Helenius like, huh? You know, and what happened to Helenius? He got knocked out, and needless to say, he tested positive for something. But yeah, so if you hear AJ say, hey, I'm going to F you up. Oh yeah, that's what he means. And I think Jake Paul knew it. And I mean, he avoided a lot of big shots at the beginning of that fight, you know. But then as AJ started getting closer and those punches started getting, you know, more in range of hitting him, the grabbing happened a lot, you know, more. You know, he started gripping off.
Chris Mannix and Sergio Mora placed most of the responsibility on Jake Paul while analyzing Anthony Joshua's 6th-round knockout victory. They argued that Jake didn't just come up short in the fight but also embarrassed himself and the sport by exposing a lack of basic boxing fundamentals. Mora explained that experienced fighters are trained to function under exhaustion, pain, and constant pressure, while Jake appeared to have learned how to throw punches without understanding how to operate when truly under threat. Both analysts suggested that Joshua was clearly in control throughout the bout and intentionally avoided ending it earlier, despite having the capability to do so. In their view, the contest should have been stopped much sooner, as Jake spent more time evading exchanges than actually engaging in boxing. Mannix added that when a seasoned professional decides to apply real force against someone without that level of experience, the skill gap becomes obvious almost immediately. They concluded that the fight was underwhelming for audiences and harmful to boxing's credibility, calling it worse than anticipated and difficult to justify as a legitimate sporting contest.
A freaking clown show. Jake Paul embarrassed himself, embarrassed the sport, and embarrassed everyone that calls himself a fighter. And I've been telling you this for years. The thing about boxers is we train to be tired. We train to be hurt. We train to roll with punches. We train for a lot of things that this YouTube Disney star has been nobody. Never learned the trait. He never learned how to fight. He learned how to throw some punches. He learned how to box. And I told you it's because Jake Paul had the resources. He can have a head start in this career like you did in life, and you can make it out. But the thing is, when a fighter really wants to hurt another non-fighter, he can do it, and he can do it a lot easier and a lot faster. Anthony Joshua played with his food, and I'm going to tell you right now, he played with his food. I don't think he should have went to the 6th round, maybe the 4th at latest, because Jake Paul was running. He wasn't boxing. He was running, and every time he had a chance to try to tackle Anthony Joshua in fear, he was on his knees. It looked like he was praying. Jake Paul spent more times on his knees than you did in college praying for a girlfriend. It was embarrassing, Chris Mannix. It was embarrassing. And all the people that tuned in to Netflix and everyone else, just like the Mike Tyson fiasco that happened a couple of years ago, we feel disgusted for having to watch that.
I'm not going to defend the fight. It was a bad fight. It was actually
worse. You're not going to put him on the cover of Sports Illustrated again?
No, because we put him on the cover of Sports Illustrated for very different reasons than boxing. It was a power issue, as you know.
Ben Shalom sharply criticized the Anthony Joshua-Jake Paul matchup, describing it as a spectacle that pushes the sport into dangerous territory. He said that while some crossover fights can be viewed as harmless entertainment, this one carried serious risks that shouldn't be ignored. Drawing from his experience as a boxing promoter, Shalom explained that the medical realities of the sport are no joke, and poorly matched fights can quickly turn hazardous. He warned that these events are often framed as fun or easy money until someone is seriously hurt. In his view, bouts like this undermine boxing's credibility and damage its public image. Shalom also pointed out that many within the industry remain quiet because of financial incentives, but the wider impact could be harmful, especially for fans, younger audiences, and sponsors who may begin to see this as a true reflection of boxing. He emphasized that the sport is always one punch away from disaster and argued there's no valid reason for an average-level fighter from a different background to jump weight classes and face a two-time world champion.
Worldview, Ben, on the Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua circumstance. I mean, a lot of people talking about the discredit it does to boxing. I don't put it in the category of boxing. I put it in the category of entertainment, and Anthony Joshua being introduced to America as a media star. What's your overall view of what it does or doesn't do for boxing? Jake Paul being licensed in a fight that many people think that he shouldn't have been licensed to fight, in a commission that often does that. As a promoter, do you think it's a bad look for boxing, or are you thinking it doesn't really matter, it's not really what boxing's about?
I usually and have said in the past that things can be things, you know, you've got to take it for what they are, but in this occasion I do think it is a freak show, if I'm honest. I also think it's dangerous. I'm sat here as a boxing promoter and I see what goes on with the medicals before and after fights and how dangerous the sport is. And I saw Callum Simpson, the fight should have been stopped way before it was, but was in trouble on Saturday night. It's all a bit of fun and it's all a money grab until someone gets seriously hurt, seriously damaged, and then the whole sport comes into disrepute. For me, it makes a mockery of the sport of boxing. For me, it's no one in the industry wants to talk badly about it because everyone's lined, the pockets are getting lined. And when you look at that, and kids will look at that, and fans will look at that, and sponsors will look at that and think that that is boxing. As I say, we're one punch away from something serious, and yeah, it's
Ben, on the flip side of that argument, mate, you will tell me that you knew that Chris Eubank wasn't right to go into that fight.
No, but let's be completely honest, right? Whatever you want to say about that fight, these are two experienced professional fighters. Chris Eubank Jr. has been in fights previously in his career where he's...
Duke McKenzie criticized the level of competition Jake Paul has been facing, describing it as very weak. He suggested that fighters from his own gym, even those who aren't top-tier professionals, could perform just as well, if not better, in these crossover bouts. McKenzie questioned the value of claiming a world title after short fights against low-level opponents, implying that such accolades hold little real meaning. He added that these matchups are more about easy money than actual challenge, noting that his gym fighters likely wouldn't even be seriously tested. McKenzie also voiced frustration with athletes from other sports stepping into boxing, emphasizing that the sport demands elite skill and shouldn't be treated casually or diluted by novelty contests.
It would take a lot of my time and a lot of my patience to train these guys. Now, they don't know a right hook from a meat hook. They don't know a jab, you know, from a proper boxing jab to a jab in the arm with an injection. They haven't learnt the basic fundamentals. Nobody's taught them to keep their hands up and their chin down. Nobody's taught them how to jab properly. Like I say, these guys were just swinging shots on a wing and a prayer, and it was quite painful to watch. I don't know who coaches these guys. I don't know. Maybe they're MMA, maybe they're kickboxers, maybe they're you know, professionals in their chosen field, but they're not being trained by boxing coaches. That's clear. What I would do, you'd have to strip them down and start from square one. And I mean, I've got a lot of guys in my gym, and a lot of these guys probably would do better if they entered this Misfits competition. I'd have guys from my gym calling themselves world champion, because at the end of the 6 rounds, Timur was crowned and still heavyweight World Misfits champion. Well, if that's the level of opposition, I might even head a few of my guys into that, see if they can't nick a few quid. They're not going to get hurt. It's, you know, what surprises me about all of these crossover organisations that want to, you know, you've got footballers that want to be boxers, you've got MMA that want to be boxers, you've got boxers that want to be boxers, you've got table tennis, you've got cricketers, you've got, name any sport you want, rugby, you've got...
That wraps up today's video. Make sure to stay tuned for more updates. See you next time.